The Zephyrian High Council had ruled the Andromeda sector for 3 millennia. Their crystalline forms towered 12 feet above most species, their 6 arms capable of manipulating matter at the molecular level, and their collective consciousness made them nearly omniscient within their territory. They had crushed 17 civilizations, absorbed 43 colonies, and turned entire star systems into their personal laboratories. So when the reports came in about a small, bipedal species from a backwater solar system called Sol, the Council barely registered the information. Humans. Overlord Vex Prime crystallized the word through their shared consciousness. Carbon-based. Single consciousness per unit, lifespan of roughly 80 rotations. They've barely achieved faster-than-light travel. The other council members rippled with what passed for amusement among their kind. Such primitive creatures hardly warranted discussion, let alone concern. They've established a colony on Kepler 442b, reported Sub-Overlord Quinn 7. Shall we absorb them with the standard protocols? Standard protocols seem excessive, Vex Prime decided. Send a single harvester ship. Make it swift. 3 days. Later, the harvester ship Infinite Dominion arrived at Kepler 442b, expecting to find a small settlement of perhaps a few thousand humans. Instead, they discovered something that made the crew hesitate for the first time in centuries. The humans had known they were coming. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the hastily constructed orbital defense platform, watching the massive Zephyrian vessel materialize from hyperspace. She was 34 years old, had never seen real combat, and was technically qualified to run a mining operation, not a military defense. "Ma'am," called Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Standard surrender demand." "Response?" Chen asked, though she already knew what she would say. No, the Zephyrians had studied human psychology from their databases. They expected fear, panic, perhaps desperate negotiation attempts. What they got instead was silence, followed by something unprecedented in their 3,000-year history of conquest. The humans attacked first, not with advanced technology or superior firepower, but with something the Zephyrians had never encountered. Absolutely reckless creativity born from desperation. The mining equipment had been retrofitted into weapons. Asteroid haulers became ramming ships. Industrial lasers became precision cannons. The humans had turned their entire colony infrastructure into an improvised weapons platform in less than 72 hours. More disturbing to the Zephyrians was the humans' tactical behavior. They didn't fight like any civilization the Council had encountered. They didn't try to preserve their forces or minimize casualties. Instead, they fought like cornered animals with engineering degrees. Lieutenant Kim Jong-soo piloted his converted ore hauler directly into the harvester ship's energy matrix, detonating the vessel's entire fuel supply in a suicide run that crippled the Zephyrian ship's main weapons. As he died, he transmitted his telemetry data to every other human pilot in the system. The Zephyrians were forced to retreat for the first time in a millennium. Within hours, the incident had reached the High Council. Vex Prime's crystalline form flickered with confusion as they processed the reports. "Impossible," they declared. "No species fights with such irrationality." "Perhaps we underestimated them," suggested Quinn 7. "Should we send a full battle fleet?" "Send 3 fleets," Vex Prime commanded. "And a research vessel. We need to understand what we're dealing with." The second engagement occurred 6 months later near the human colony of New Geneva. This time, the humans were ready in ways that defied Zephyrian comprehension. They had spent those 6 months reverse engineering captured Zephyrian technology, but not in the way any logical species would. Instead of trying to match Zephyrian capabilities, they had focused on finding weaknesses and exploiting them with typical human stubborn ingenuity. Captain Maria Santos led a squadron of fighters built from salvaged alien tech and human determination. Her ship was held together with welding, prayers, and what her engineer called optimistic physics. It shouldn't have been able to fly, let alone fight, but it could do something no Zephyrian had expected. It could improvise. When her primary weapons failed, Santos rerouted power through the coffee maker. When her shields collapsed, she used the ship's waste management system to create a debris field that confused Zephyrian sensors. When her engines were hit, she used controlled explosions from the ship's emergency systems to maintain maneuverability. The Zephyrians lost 2 battle cruisers to tactics that violated every principle of logical warfare. The third battle changed everything. Humanity had spent a year preparing, but not for defense. They had been working on offense, and they had developed something that would haunt Zephyrian memory for generations. They had learned to fight like humans, but with alien technology. The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace near the Zephyrian forward base at Rigel 7 was a patchwork of stolen technology, retrofitted civilian vessels, and jury-rigged weapon systems that should have been impossible to operate. Admiral David Park commanded from a bridge that had been built inside a converted cargo freighter. His flagship was ugly, inefficient, and absolutely lethal in ways the Zephyrians couldn't predict. "All ships," Park transmitted. "Remember what we learned from Sarah, from Kim, from Maria. We don't have to be better than them. We just have to be more human than they are alien." The battle lasted 17 hours. When it ended, the Zephyrian forward base was destroyed, their fleet scattered, and most importantly, their sense of invincibility was shattered. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrian High Council voted to withdraw from a sector. "These humans," Vex Prime announced to the emergency session, "fight as if they have nothing to lose and everything to prove. They turn every defeat into intelligence, every loss into motivation. They are—" The Overlord paused, struggling with a concept foreign to Zephyrian nature. "Adaptable beyond logic." "What do you recommend?" asked Quinn 7. Vex Prime's form dimmed as they considered the implications. "We leave them alone, mark their territory as quarantined, and we never speak of this again." 200 years later, when historians asked about the mysterious gap in Zephyrian expansion records, official documents cited unfavorable stellar conditions in the Sol sector. The truth had become something the mighty Zephyrians couldn't bear to acknowledge. They had met their match in a species that refused to fight fair, refused to lose gracefully, and refused to be anything other than impossibly, stubbornly, brilliantly human. In the end, humanity didn't defeat the Zephyrians through superior technology or strategy. They won by being so unpredictably human that an entire galactic empire decided it was easier to pretend they didn't exist. And in the vast archives of the Zephyrian High Council, filed under incidents not to be repeated, a single entry remains. Note to future overlords, avoid species that consider hold my beer to be a valid military strategy.